Welcome back to Super Recaps. Today, we'll see Dangerous Lies, a 2020 American psychological thriller film. It's time to recap. Watch out for spoilers ahead. The film is set in Chicago, where Katie Franklin works as a waitress at a diner. She rouses her husband, Adam Kettner, who has dozed off while studying. They go make out in their car during Katie's break, wanting to spend more time with each other but both being too busy with work and studies. Adam says she deserves a lot more and expresses his eagerness to one day provide for her like that. When they come back, they see the diner being robbed. Even though Katie tells him not to go in, Adam still does. He grabs a frying pan and incapacitates the man, earning him the title of hero. 4 months later, Katie is now working as a caregiver for a rich and kind older man, Leonard Wellesley, who lives by himself in a vast house. And in the meantime, Adam has stopped going to classes so he can look for a walk, but he has not found any so far. All his debts, such as student loans and credit card bills, are racking up, unpaid. This stresses Katie's out, and Adam tries to convince her that he will take care of everything, but this does not give her any comfort. Katie tells him that the robbery has changed her. She warned Adam not to go in there because he could have been killed, but he still did, which made her believe he never wants to listen to her. After her fight with Adam, Katie goes to Leonard's house for peace. Thinking it's an intruder, Leonard approaches her with a baseball bat. He claims that he keeps hearing someone walking around yet never sees any signs of them, but Katie comforts him, saying he is just hearing things. She then tells Leonard about her issues and how Adam needs a job. Leonard promises to help her and appoints Adam to do lawn and gardening work. The next day, a real estate agent, Mickey Hayden, shows up and tells her he represents a client who wishes to buy Leonard's house. Katie informs him that this house has belonged to Leonard his entire life and he has no plans to leave, but she promises to pass on the message. Later, Calvin from the caretaker agency pays a visit to Katie and meets with Leonard. Leonard goes on to tell the agency that Katie is doing an excellent job. And when Katie gets her next paycheck from Leonard, she discovers that it is significantly higher than what she is supposed to be paid. She comes to realize that Leonard probably did this after he heard about her financial difficulties. She refuses to accept it and wishes to return the check to Leonard, but Adam persuades her to cash the check, pay their bills, and then pay Leonard back later. As they drive back home, Hayden is watching them from his car. The following day, Katie goes to Leonard's and discovers him dead on a chair in the attic. Adam approaches her to console her and begins searching through the items in Leonard's attic, discovering an unlocked large chest. Inside the chest, he finds old pictures, and under them, he finds an abundance of cash. Because Leonard had no family, Adam advises Katie that Leonard wanted to assist her and would have preferred that she receive the money. Rather than letting the money go into the system, Katie and Adam decide to use it for themselves where it can make a difference. Katie warns Adam that they must be cautious, and he guarantees that he will be. When Detective Chiseler arrives to investigate Leonard's death, everything appears to be normal. Katie decides to return to the agency to find another job, despite Adam's opinion that she shouldn't have to. However, Calvin tells her that until the police are done with the investigation, they can't let her work for another client. Adam goes to Leonard's house to steal the cash while Katie is at the agency, but he hears a noise coming from downstairs. When he goes to check, he notices a broken window and is brutally hit from behind. When he wakes up, he calls Katie, who chastises him for not being cautious and going to Leonard's house as if he owned it. Adam tells her that before he got assaulted, he counted the money, which was close to $100,000. They both try to figure out who the intruder was and what information they had. Fearing that the person will come back, they take the money to the bank and hide it in a safety deposit box, unknowing that Hayden's been watching them. Chiseler calls Katie in because she had stated that Leonard wanted to be cremated, but the issue is that they don't know who will cover the costs as Leonard has no family. Katie says she will cover everything. During the funeral, Julia Byron Kim approaches Katie and Adam and informs them that she is Leonard's attorney. She tells them that Leonard called her and updated her will a few weeks ago and that he left his entire fortune to Katie. Hearing the news, they are astonished and ecstatic. Julia offered to stay and assist Katie with the transfer because Leonard had paid her an assistance fee. Julia reminds Katie that she is in charge of everything, not Adam, and warns her that money can change people. The couple starts to move into Leonard's old house. Adam wants to purchase cars and go on expensive trips immediately, but Katie tells him to calm down. The police then call Adam and call him to the station to discuss the diner robbery, but once he gets there, it turns out no one from the station called him. Chiseler, who had no idea he was involved in the diner incident, runs into him. She informs him that the attacker from the diner robbery was murdered in his cell a few weeks ago. Hayden returns to the house and tries once more to persuade Katie to sell the house, but she rejects him. He becomes aggressive and refuses to leave, so she tells him the house belongs to her now. He accuses the will of being a forgery, and she threatens to call the cops unless he leaves. Later that night, Katie tries to call Ju but Adam discourages her. Then while she's in the bathroom, she discovers a new expensive watch, which Adam claims is a cheap copy, but she thinks he's lying. In the meantime, Chiseler is skeptical of the situation and goes to the diner to talk to Adam, but she finds Katie instead. Chiseler becomes even more suspicious after she finds out that Leonard left his fortune to Katie. She inquires as to whether Adam always came to pick her up at the diner, and Katie responds that he came early to study. She informs Katie that no one from the police called Adam, but Adam never told this to her. Later, Adam sees Katie talking with Julia and becomes enraged. He claims that they agreed she wouldn't talk to her, but Katie tells him that he decided that by himself and Katie never agreed. When Katie questions him about why he didn't tell her about the fake phone call, he tells her that he believes someone is following him. Katie realizes that Hayden probably called him down to the station so that once Katie is alone in the house, he can over and scare her. She speculates he must be aware of the money. She tells Adam that she warned him to be cautious. Katie says that they need to return the money, otherwise they'll lose everything if the police find out, but Adam refuses because they don't want things to be like they used to be. At the agency, Chiseler interviews Calvin, who informs her that Katie kept detailed notes on Leonard's treatments. He is baffled when Chiseler shows him the much larger check Katie deposited from Leonard a day before his death, and he was also utterly clueless about the fact that Leonard hired Adam too. Katie enters the gardening shed in search of Adam but can't find him, so she begins to look around. After moving a shelf away, she discovers a secret room inside, where she discovers unclaimed checks written to Ethan, followed by a decaying corpse and a bag full of diamonds. She informs Adam that Leonard had a gardener named Ethan who, according to Leonard, stopped appearing one day. Calvin then arrives, yelling furiously at Katie for using an elderly man and disgracing his company's name, but Katie slams the door on his phone. Adam then arrives home with 2 new phones and Katie asks him to go return them. They then talk about the diamonds. Adam claims that Ethan stole the diamonds, and was shot as a result. Since he died alone, no one knows what truly happened. Katie tries to call Detective Chiseler, but Adam says they'll lose everything if she does so. Katie thinks they'll be fine as long as they are with each other, but Adam is still reluctant, saying he'll never go back to how it was and vows to take care of everything. He disposes of Ethan's body and burns the checks that they presume Ethan never cashed to avoid leaving a paper trail. Once they've gone to bed, Adam hears someone in the house, so he grabs a gun and jumps out to counter the intruder, who just turns out to be Calvin. Out of shock and fear, Calvin dies after falling off the stairs. Chiseler arrives at the house and tells Katie that she knows none of this is her fault. She explains to Katie how everything is suspicious, including Leonard dying, and he will only be discovered after he was cremated. Because of the cremation, she cannot determine whether Leonard died naturally. She inquires if Adam mentioned Ray Gaskin, the name of the diner robber, who she informs Katie was a janitor at the university where Adam was enrolled. She warns Katie to vary with Adam and to not let him bring her down with him, and encourages Katie to come to her for help. Katie goes to meet Julia and tells her everything. They go to the deposit box and discover that the money is gone. Julia says that Adam intends to flee with the money and diamonds and hand Katie over to the cops. Julia says she'll try to keep Chiseler from getting a search warrant for the house, and tells Katie to ensure Adam stays here, so Katie has to take the fall for him. During this, the police discover Ethan's body and notify Chiseler. Katie returns and sees Adam, who is packing up their belongings and money. He informs her that he looked up Hayden and that he is not a real estate agent, but rather a criminal who was recently released for stealing $3 million worth of diamonds from a jewelry store. His partner, Ethan, whom he shot, was never apprehended. Katie wants to call the cops, but Adam says they must flee immediately. Katie is relieved that Julia was wrong and that Adam would not abandon her, and calls her to tell her so. But before she can, Hayden breaks in and threatens her with a gun. Hayden is holding Katie hostage while Adam points a gun at him. But Hayden ends up shooting Adam several times before knocking Katie to the ground. Before Hayden can harm her more, Adam manages to kill him with a few shots. Katie embraces Adam as he dies after saying something about the garden. Julia arrives at the scene and informs Katie that they must find the diamonds before the police arrive or she will be arrested. It hits Katie that Hayden probably killed Leonard by reading her book on his medications and overdosing him. She wonders why Hayden shot Ethan, and Julia comments on how moronic you'd have to be to do that with $3 million in diamonds. When Katie realizes she never mentioned the value of the diamonds, Julia snatches Hayden's gun and goes on a monologue, finally revealing the truth. She says she was a public defender who took Hayden's case and pled him down to 2 years in prison. They worked together to find the diamonds for Leonard but were unsuccessful. She admits to Katie that she had no idea Hayden would murder Leonard. So she was surprised and had to think quickly, revealing that the will was indeed fake. Julia claims Leonard would have given her the house regardless and pleads with Katie to tell her the location of the diamonds. Katie asserts Adam hid them and she doesn't know where they are, but even if she did, she wouldn't tell her. Julia points the gun at Katie, but Chiseler steps in. Julia attempts to shoot Chiseler, but Katie shoves her away. Chiseler eventually kills Julia and assists Katie in leaving the house. For months later, we see a pregnant Katie tending to her garden. Then Chiseler comes to see her to notify her that the case has been closed and Adam's name has been cleared. Chiseler then says they looked everywhere for the diamonds but couldn't find them. Katie goes back inside after turning on the sprinklers, and the water from the sprinkles reveals the diamonds buried under. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and like the video to support the channel, and press the bell icon to get new video updates.